Hey Mario, hope you're doing well. What was the reaction of the players when you had to tell them that this 2020 season wasn't going to happen, given that Rob said they were, following the protocols, and obviously you had a really strong team coming back?
Well, first off, I want to say I want to ask how you're doing and the rest of the media group out here. I know we're all affected by this, and I don't mean the postponement of the season. I mean the actual, the pandemic and everything else that's going on. So I hope you guys are doing well as we proceed with this press conference. And then secondly, the reaction of the players. So it's difficult. It's painful. I think when everyone that plays this sport, coaches this sport, is fully invested. I think, the level of investment of our place and our people, from every player, every administrator, every person in operations in the training room, it's just 100% all in. So it was painful. It was at the same time, it was acknowledged as we stick by what we say and what we do. You had heard Rob say it several times. We're going to do the best and the right thing by our student athletes, regardless of what that was, and the word by the medical advisory board and the powers that be was that this is the best thing as it relates to their safety and welfare. So they understood that as well, and I think they appreciate that. Now everyone picturing a fall without, I think that's the part that sinks in and it's hard to deal with. But it's been kind of interesting that this time of year, at the end of any type of session, whether it be the spring session or the season, I meet with every player one-on-one, and that's what I've been doing the past 24 hours, 36 hours. And you see both sides. You see the fact, yes, we would love to play, but we greatly appreciate the fact that we are doing right by our people. So, hey, I haven't been on here in a long time. That's a long answer to a short question, but you have to excuse that, all right? I miss you guys a little bit. How about that, okay?
Next, we will go to James Crepia.
Mario, I hope you're well. The conversation that you're having with players, several players already opted out around the country, declared to go to the draft and have signed with agents. What is the conversation shift to for you now with Panay, Javon, Diamador, Thomas, Jordan, and the rest of the seniors? How quickly does that conversation happen, and has anyone indicated to you that they have a decision already made for next year?
No decisions have been made, and I think that naturally happens. I think there's a lot to digest right now, and at the same time, there's uncertainty as to what it looks like going forward. I think, guys, we've been here for about 9 weeks now, right, including the onboarding process, and that's a long stretch for us. We usually do our cycles in 5 and 6 week increments or whatnot. So they've been here a long time, and I thought it was important for them just to break away after we have our one-on-one meetings to check on them and see how they're doing mentally, how they're taking this in. The surprise and not surprising part, the kind of interesting part is, we do have the ability to train during this time, but we've made the decision that, hey, you have access to the facility, do what you want. I come out there and just about everybody's out there training and running around. So it's pretty unique what we have here, and those conversations with those guys are going to be very deep, very well-informed conversations, and to have that, we just need a little bit more information, a little bit more time.
Okay, next we will go to AJ Jacobson.
Hey, Coach, a couple questions for you. First of all is kind of on the recruiting.
I'm sorry, I can't hear on this one.
Okay, can you hear me now, Coach?
Barely.
Okay, well, I'll try to pop off and speak up then. My first question, I've got two questions. The first one is kind of about the recruiting max situation, in that if they're going to grant waivers and allow seniors to stay for an additional season, how will that affect, like, for example, the class of 2022? Will they enlarge the total number of scholarships to accommodate that decision, or what happens there? And then the other thing I was going to ask you is about, Rob just said that some student athletes that are already in town working out in the facilities and going through the protocol and the trainings now can stay and do so for the time being, but they're not going to intake any more players and athletes. So I was going to ask you, what is the proportion of football players that are here in town now, participating in the training as they can?
Okay. No, those are two really good questions. The first one, in terms of how the recruiting classes now fit with the possibility of extending the clocks for some of the seniors to be. Those are good questions, and the solutions to that are have to be very well thought through, because you can't really stack this without a plan to be able to provide room on the roster for the next incoming class. It really doesn't change our recruiting strategy. We always proceed by the numbers that we would have had, and I trust that there will be a process in place to figure out what the overage or underage is as it relates to year per year. So I wish I had a better answer or more informed answer to that. I don't think we'll have that for a little bit. In terms of our football players in town, everyone has onboarded here and has been in town for a minimum of 7.5 weeks. And, we all know this is an awesome town, beautiful weather, especially during this time of year. And to have access to these kind of facilities, to be able to be provided with the medical support here, as well as the academic support for the guys who are taking classes, to be around their teammates, to be safe, right? To really feel safe and supported, especially during a time like this, is very important to our players. And, I appreciate the administration going the extra mile and continuing to provide the same type of support and atmosphere and environment for our players, even though the season has been postponed. So in conversation with our guys, I expect a fair amount of guys to stay in town. I actually expect several visit there, spend a little time here in Eugene and maybe taking a little bit of, obviously all the natural, opportunities that are given to us by being here. So
Next, we will go to Matt Preem.
Hi, Mario. Hope you're well. Thanks for doing this. So much of sports is structure-oriented, where there's always kind of a goal of you've got this date to prepare for and whatnot. And right now, there's so much uncertainty of you don't really know when you could be back, whether it's start practicing full go or preparing for a hard date for a game. How has that been, I guess, for you and for the program in general, just going through a period where you don't really know when things could return?
Well, up until now, it's been really structured because, as Rob mentioned, we had our parameters set. We were abiding by the 8-hour rules when it was 8-hour rule time, and then progressing to the 20-hour period a week when it was time, but only progressing if it was deemed safe to continue progressing. Now that all this has been postponed, it's different, but it's different in a positive way, in the sense that I don't know if there's ever a time in the history of modern sports where a young generation like this has had the opportunity to take more time to work on their craft, to legitimately take a deeper dive into the academic side of things and advance themselves academically, make more progress towards their diploma, and then realize that, it may seem like it's a long ways away, but time goes by pretty quickly, and before you know it, you're going to blink and you're going to be playing football again, or you're going to be in the middle of camp. And you really want to make sure that you use this time to the max in terms of polishing and improving your craft and understanding the playbook and spending valuable time with your family, getting to know your teammates better, making sure you don't let your guard down as it relates to protocol and the virus, right? Not losing sight of the big picture and making sure that you gotta, and you all know, in this industry, rarely is there a pause, if ever a pause where you can actually improve. And, I feel that our guys are of that type of a DNA. We're going to take advantage of that. That's going to be a huge point of emphasis. And we're certainly not going to sit around and pout and anything of that nature. We're just not like that. And we don't recruit guys that are like that. So the expectations are still going to be extremely high of how we conduct ourselves, of how we hold ourselves to a high standard. And we are looking forward to, again, the opportunity when it does come around.
Okay, next we will go to Andrew Hobner.
Hey, Mario, I hope you and yours have been safe and healthy through all this. Thanks for doing this. Lost in the last couple days of all of these postponements and cancellations kind of was the movement of, the Players United movement among the Pac-12 players. You had a few that either lended support or lended their names to that document that got circulated around. I'm just kind of curious what discussions, if any, you had with your players that were a part of this, and just what was said and kind of how it was going to be viewed if there was a season, and how the players kind of had reacted to all of it.
No, I think we always encourage our players when they have something that's important to voice that their voice be heard. And the primary concerns of players, and I think you're feeling it across the country as more and more data surfaces, is their safety. Is they all felt extremely safe here. They were very trusting of our medical staff and our protocol. The concerns were, hey, we're doing really well here. How are things outside of here? The teams that we're going to be able to play, are they following the same protocol? Things of that nature were at the forefront of those discussions, and we had those discussions, and we will continue to have those discussions or anything that may come up. That's just the way that we do things. So transparency is huge in our program. Will continue to be so, is honesty and being upfront. So really appreciate them being honest with me, and also looking forward to progressing and growing as a team and being able to have conversations like that moving forward.
Next, we will go to Tyson Alger.
Hey, Mario, appreciate you doing this. You guys transitioned so quickly in March when things shut down to the Zoom meetings and being able to kind of thrive in that environment. And then throughout the summer, we heard about the buy-in from all the players, and your guys' philosophy of whoever was going to do this the best was going to come out of it the best. But just now, not necessarily having that carrot in front of you guys of having potential games to play. Just for you personally, like how has this been for you, having to you're leading a program? I can't imagine anybody can prepare for leading a program in the middle of a pandemic. But just like, how have you been able to kind of like stay in check mentally and just be able to kind of balance your own family and personal needs throughout all of this?
Well, being raised by my parents prepared for just about anything now. That old Cuban household was something else. But quite honestly, the carrot is always there. It never disappears, whether it's an immediate happening or something that's going to happen down the line. We're fortunate and privileged to be in part of the best organized, team sporting event that there ever was created. So that part doesn't change. I'm not just throwing out some coach speak out there or trying to give a generic answer. It just, I know it's a little bit farther away than what we all want, but it's that way for a really good reason, for a reason that we all say is the most important thing. So let's make sure it's about doing that certain thing, about making sure our guys are taken care of, our guys are safe. And because that is the reason behind it. It's not, for me personally, it's not difficult. It's not difficult at all to keep planning and stay motivated and start thinking of all the possibilities, that could come with this, the opportunities to improve, the opportunity to spend more time around the guys, the opportunity to spend time with these guys, hopefully as things clear up, on things that we never had the chance to do in March, right? March, April, May is bonding time for our team, man. We get to do all kinds of team activities and spend time together, whether we're paintballing each other or out there on go-karts or watching some terrible golf swings at Top Golf. We do a lot. And that's how we get to know each other, and that's how we get to build a relationship where we end up working hard and respecting each other. And that is as valuable as anything, absolutely anything we do out on the field or in the weight room, because building our team from the neck up, between the ears, mentally, is, especially in a time like this, is going to be, in my opinion, the most important thing we do. So we're looking forward to investing an incredible amount of time in that avenue.
Next, we will go to Eric Scopel.
Hey, Coach. Thanks for doing this, and hope all is well with you and yours and everybody over there at the HDC. Hope maybe we can do this in person sometime in the future.
We will. Have some faith, brother.
All right.
Good days are coming.
Back in April, you called this circumstance kind of a great test of culture. I think that stood out to me when you said that. And I guess following up on that now, it's 4 or 5 months later. How did you see the program kind of stand up to that from your perspective?
I think we passed the test well. We really did, because it really was a test, and the test lasted a lot longer and came with a very I would say a true, I would say painful, conclusion, right? A real one, but all this comes with a conclusion and a decision that was made for the right reason. So how did we do? We did extremely well because guys were here. Guys did their part in terms of working hard, following protocol. The testing results show that. I'd love to see how that just compares nationally as it respects to anything, not just football, for an organization to comply and to hold themselves accountable to a certain standard when it comes to protocol, to keep a place safe, to prevent, each other from getting sick. And then, we had the opportunity to be with our guys out on the field for some of the skill instruction stuff and watching them work, watching them push, watching them finish drill to drill, seeing that they retain so much from the season, so much from the spring. I think this team's going to be ready for anything that's thrown its way down the line in the future. I think we saw the development and the grooming of some young leadership as well, that all of a sudden found themselves in a role that they probably weren't expecting to be in for another couple of years while they're there now. So all in all, extremely proud of the players, extremely proud and thankful for the organization, the administration, everyone involved now. I mean, there are people down in the training room, down in the cafeteria, custodial department. I mean, you name it, top to bottom. Jimmy's on here. Patrick Pearson's on here. All these guys have just been, they've been incredibly resilient, and just whether it be we're actually allowed in the building, showing up in person with the right attitude, big smile, ready to attack the opportunity. So proud of everyone, proud to be a part of this organization for the way that we handle things.
Next, we will go to Sam Finley.
Yes, Coach, thanks for doing all this. I hope, again, that you are well, as many others have stated in this meeting. Anyways, for many years, Saturdays in the fall has been games. What are you gonna do with yourself on these weekends between now and if and when football does resume in the spring or whenever?
You had to bring that up, didn't you? Well, I think there's a lot. And certainly it will be different. But in that also, there's opportunity, and the opportunities are pretty wide-ranging. I'm sure it'll be football-related in the best way possible, whether it be replaying some really cool games. I mean, last time I checked, we did play a really phenomenal game at the beginning of 2020. That's worth putting on every now and then on a Saturday. But also studying ourselves. I think that's the most important part, is, making sure that we're taking an opportunity to be around our families. I think something I haven't mentioned is I'm really thankful to the coaching staff, because the coaching staff, they've worked straight through. And typically in the coaching industry, you get to have that family time in small pockets in the month of May, a tiny week in April, but then in the summertime, that's when your family gets to know who you are again. And the men and women of this organization, they've worked straight through. And man, I have to do a great job making sure that they spend time getting reacquainted with their families, who they're the ones that really have kind of had to sit on the outside looking and waiting for things to unfold as well. So that's going to be a priority. Certainly there'll be stuff to do that's football related on Saturdays, and I'll find it. I don't have that answer yet, but when I do, it's coming your way, I promise.
Next, we will go to Ryan Thorburn.
Mario, if things are better with coronavirus in January 1st, do you think a spring football schedule is viable?
Ryan, I'd like to see what that looks like. I think we all want to play football. I would like to see what that looks like on paper, to see what that actually means. When is the start date? What type of practices are there? What does that mean for the following season? And what does that calendar look like as well? And then that's always going to be the biggest question, right? How much football can you play in a certain amount of time? So open to any and all ideas, but certainly would like to take a look at what that really means before saying, hey, that's a great idea, or maybe that's not a great idea. So, but open to anything regarding football.
Next, we will go to James Crepia.
Mara, to the recruiting side of things, I know there still has to be answers provided from the NCAA in terms of scholarship counts and additional eligibility and how this is going to work. But what's your understanding at the moment in terms of just like the dead period is through September? So when official visits might ever happen again, when in-person recruiting might ever happen again, when is the December signing period going to be a thing this year? Because there's all this assumption, even with the spring, of everyone signing in December and being able to join programs. And I don't know if that's actually certain. So what's your understanding of what recruiting even looks like for the remainder of this year?
My only understanding of recruiting is that you got to do it at a high level, and you have to do it at a high level every single day until we get answers. And the best thing we can do now is proceed as we normally do, without any hesitation, without trying to overthink it. It's only fair to the guys that we are recruiting, to our current roster, that we do it that way until we get any type of change in plan or any type of, you name it, any type of adjustment that we have to make. But we're prepared to do whatever we're asked to do.
We'll take two more. Next is Tyson Alger.
Hey, Mario, if you don't have the opportunity to coach Penny Sewell in a game again, what's the most just memorable thing about what he's done for you guys the last 2 years and probably 3-4 years that you've known him?
Oh, that'd be a tough one. There's a lot of stuff, maybe the way that I keep reminding him that, he has to keep developing his abs to be the complete left tackle, something of that nature. He's an awesome young man, and certainly, himself and some other guys on this team, as information is given to us and to their families, we will do everything we can to help them make the best decision for themselves and for their futures that is to be had. So, but yeah, I think I'll wait on that answer for a little bit.
All right, we have time for one more. We will go to Matt Preem.
Yeah, Mario, a lot of recruits are thinking about enrolling early, and I know we don't know the scholarship numbers and that could play into that, if that's even possible. But a lot of states at a high school level are playing spring football. Would it be beneficial for that player and his development to playing live games, or is there an argument where it could be better for them to enroll early at the U of O and to start their off-season training potentially?
It could work both ways. I think the biggest test of this recruiting cycle, maybe this answers a little bit off the original question, is that because a lot of guys have not had a senior season, and I know that a lot of schools, including ourselves, we've identified a lot of prospects, rising seniors that we feel very strongly about, that we have offered and are recruiting hard. But there's also a large chunk, right, of the student athlete population in high school that is going to develop, and guys that are going to be great football players, guys that are going to be NFL players that no one's going to get a chance to see. So, anytime you can play football, it's great for development. It really is. And I think as high school relates to college, college relates to the NFL, I think both are kind of sitting, or kind of postured and looking at this in very similar ways and trying to figure out what is best. It could go either way. It really can. It could go either way. I don't think there's any downside ever to playing football. And at the same time, guys got to figure out, okay, is this a window to get in and start getting used to a playbook of a team I'm going to be playing for soon, or do I need more development, or do I just want the fulfillment of my senior year in high school? There's a lot that goes into it, and everybody's different. And I do think it's important to not only ask and kind of dig deeper on how everybody feels about that, but also to respect the decision of that student athlete as it relates to their goals and aspirations.